Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I have a Christmas card to share with you using one of the newly released digital stamps from Rachelle Anne Miller. This one is called Seasons, Blessings, Angels, and I truly fell in love with it the moment that I saw it. It's so adorable. Now I printed this image onto Transotype perfect coloring paper and I'm going to use my Copic markers to color it in. Now, originally I was planning on creating an A2 sized card, but it ended up being a mini slimline. But that's for later on. First, the coloring. For this card, I'm using mainly the same colors for both angels, except for the hair. But the wings, the dress, um, skin tone, everything will be the same, so it's going to be a really simple card, just shining with just this image on its own. So I'm coloring from darkest to lightest. I am not going to show you all of the coloring since it's all repetition, except that I changed the direction of the light source. It's sort of I intended to have the light source in the center of this image, so that means that everything facing towards the right side has a light source on the right side, and everything facing towards the left side has it on the left side. As always, I am coloring from darkest marker towards my lightest, and I am also making sure to keep in mind that shadowing here. Now for the dress, I wanted that those pleats in the dress or those folds to show up, so I just made them a bit longer and then I'm blending out from there. I also could have used more colors. I could have given the other angel other colors, but then later on I will end up using some yellow as well to create a frame or something like that. So it ended out to be a minty yellowish card. Here onto the skin tone, again making sure that those shadows are switching sides here, and then I'm building everything up. So personally, I find once you decided where your darkest color is going, it's really simple to blend it out, because everywhere where you went with the previous marker, you need to go next to it with those other markers to get your gradient to go to your lightest color in your combination. Now normally I would start with skin tone and hair because I find that really hard still, but in this case I wanted to make sure that my color combination was working out, so that's why I started on the wings and the dress, and then I could just continue. So here again adding a second layer to really get the blend that I want. The first layer most of the time isn't enough for me personally, so a second layer really helps. Also depending on the paper that you're using, you can add as many layers as you need to. That's all up to you, of course. Then here for the hair, I did some flicking. The more vertical you hold your marker, the thinner the lines will be that you create when flicking or when coloring. And I'm just working my way through the markers. Again, here I'm not trying to get a blend necessarily. I really love a few highlights here and there. It depends on how the flicking goes. For me, I don't find that I have a lot of control so far with creating hair, but if I have a few lines in there that represent really those hair locks, I'm really happy with that. Now I didn't want to do the same hair color for both angels here, so I went for a warm brown and blonde. In case you want to revisit color combinations for my combinations here, you can always find them on my blog post. I have everything listed there. And I'm just making sure to build it up here with the hair. I really wasn't happy with how that was turning out, so I just used my colorless blender to get a bit rid of the decision that I made, and I just sort of started over, went over it. You barely see it, so a colorless blender truly is a lifesaver if you don't have it and you're struggling with Copic markers or any other alcohol ink. marker. There are colorless blenders out there, and they're truly a lifesaver for me anyways. I think I use them on every card that I create because there's always a boo-boo or something that I'm just not really happy about, and then I'm just fixing it. So almost done here. I am going to add a bit of shadowing on that banner with the Christmas blessings. The stars I will leave for later on after ink blending. I decided to use the Nestling Deckle mini slimline die from Hello Bluebird here, and I was contemplating about using the biggest one or just the one smaller. I went for the second biggest one here so that I could also use the biggest one for the yellow paper. You will see that later on. So here, once I positioned it, I just made sure to temporarily add some purple tape to keep everything in place, roll it through my die cutting machine, and then we could continue with that background. Now I went for cracked pistachio being my favorite ink, but also matching with the wings. And so I also fussy cut this image out of just printer paper. I'm going to temporarily add it to this panel, and then I will ink blend some cracked pistachio from the edges towards those angels. I'm not going all the way, you will see it's going to be that blue glow. But yeah, I didn't fussy cut the stars. My Copic markers will be darker. I will fade it out, so I will not have to cover up a lot or anything like that. And here I'm just making sure to add some color on the edges of this panel. And then I'm making sure also to blend it out towards that white and just have a soft transition towards the rest of this panel. So really subtle, I'm not trying to overdo it, it's not necessary, and then I can remove my image here. It's not oversaturated, so I'm keeping it on the side in case I want to reuse this specific size of these images, removing the leftover dots that are still on the images. While removing it, I noticed that with my eraser here, I also sort of softened that sentiment, and I didn't really like that. I will fix that later on. But it just happened. I didn't smear it, so that was great. It just softened a bit, and I wanted it to be really visible. So I will add first my markers, and then we will fix that. So here on the stars, just using some yellow markers, also creating a tiny bit of a blend, but it's a really small image, so I'm not trying to go crazy here with the blend that I'm creating. And then, as I said, for the banner, I'm just going to add a tiny bit of color here. The E50 will help me with that. And then I can fix my sentiment. So I just took, this is a Copic Multiliner, it's the 0.5, so it's a really small one. And I just went over the letters, took my time to do that, and that way truly the sentiment was way more visible than after erasing those dots. If I wouldn't have erased a bit of the sentiment as well, I would just have left it as it was because it was definitely clear enough, but it was just because of circumstances that mine wasn't anymore. So I used post-it paper. Here it's from Fawn. It's some cardstock, that yellow cardstock. It's almost the same yellow, well, it's not post-it, it's sticky note, but it's almost the same yellow as the dresses of the angels. So I used the biggest nesting Deckle mini slimline die from Hello Bluebird, and die cut it out of that, and then I will use some foam adhesive on the back of my panel here, and add my angels to that yellow panel. So that is that, and then I'm just going to finish it off by adding some stardust on top of the wings. from the angels, and then my card will be completely finished. There are way more options to add embellishments if you want to this card, but I decided to keep it as simple as is because I just love letting the illustrations by Rachelle Anne Miller shine on their own, because she thinks about everything so they can stand on their own if you don't want to create a whole bunch around it. It's just perfect. So that is my card for today. Really simple. I had a lot of fun with it, and I really love the color scheme here. It's really soft, subtle but precious at the same time. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and of course that you like the end result. Thank you so much for stopping by and taking the time to watch this video. I truly appreciate you all being here. I want to wish you all an incredible day, and I'll be back soon with some new crafty inspiration. Bye!